Well, thanks for joining us for AM Talk this morning. And in the midst of energy crisis, we need a solution. And a number of solutions have been preferred by a number of individuals and organizations. But we know that across the world, the sun and the sun's energy is the most renewable resource that is always advocated to be harnessed for renewable energy. And we know using the sun's radiation to convert into heat or electricity is the best energy that could be available for many regions, especially in the tropics. How are we doing that is a question that we need to ask ourselves. And the other alternative energy sources that we're exploring, are they the best that we can explore within the circumstances and the climates that we find ourselves? Well, one person who has always been advocating for the best use of resources locally, but also a lot of ingenuity in the way we tend to do our things, is the gentleman who is always called the crusading engineer. Well, he is one of the founding partners for Fatiko Ghana Limited, but he's also a main speaker on many thoughts or subjects that are always confronting our country. We have in the studio engineer Robert Woode, and I'm grateful to have him. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
In the course of the program, though, please make sure that you log on to our Facebook page, Join Us on TV, and also handle we have on Twitter, Join Us on TV, and also get very much interactive with us because we would want to hear some of your views. In the course of the discussion, we'll be making calls and we'll be speaking to the right people just to intersperse and also spice up our discussions on the subject of how to harness the sun's energy for electricity generation or energy generation, so to speak. How are you, sir?
Trying to survive.
Okay. You've always been a survivor, I believe. What's your thought about what has been happening as far as the current challenges we're having with our energy? Because following that, we've had a number of debates that have been had, discussions on radio and other media platforms. And just the last few days ago, even climax in it with a demonstration.
Yes. It saddens me. It saddens me because, as you said rightly, the sun is the supplier of energy to the planet. In fact, 5.7 hours of sunlight is enough to cover the year's energy need of the planet. Just 5.7 hours. So when you are closer to the sun, which is the ultimate supplier of energy to the planet, you can't have an energy deficit. You just cannot have it. You see, let's look at this. Germany is on parallel 51. At parallel 51 above the equator, you cannot access more than 1,000 watts of electric energy or solar radiance per square meter. There are places in Ghana, a place like Subresu at 1230, you can get 2,300 watts of solar radiance.
That's Subresu?
Yes, 2,300 watts. Now Germany, which is on parallel 51, who cannot access more than 1,000 watts, is on 38,000 megawatts of solar energy. Now, then you ask yourself, what is happening to them? Are they stupid or we are stupid? Because the man who can access not more than 1,000 watts per square meter is on 38,000 megawatts of solar. And you, around the equator 4 degrees, getting in places 2,300 watts per square meter. You are less than 5 megawatts, and you are complaining about energy. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, the solar energy that you don't want, God has made it possible for the sun to store it for you so that if you are intelligent, go and pick it back. The sun stores the energy in form of vegetable oil seed within the plant. It stores the energy in the form of starch within the plant. It stores the energy in the form of sugar within the plant. You can then produce ethanol from sugar. You can also produce ethanol from starch, which you can use for your power. And then the vegetable oil can meet your other energy requirements like diesel, because vegetable oil has 9,500 kilocalories of energy. Now, gas oil or diesel has only about 10,200 kilocalories. The most important difference is what's called the flash point, the temperature at which the vegetable oil explodes, and that is just about 150 to 200, depending on the type of material. And gas oil is between 60 to 80. But the point is that Europe is using this to produce power. The Germans are using a plant called rapeseed. You can't get more than 1,000 kilograms of oil per hectare with a rapeseed. If you do the oil palm properly, you can get 5,000 kilograms of oil per hectare. Now, the man who cannot access more than 1,000 kilograms of vegetable oil per hectare is using vegetable oil for power production, and you have access to 4,000 to 5,000 kilograms per hectare. And you are not using vegetable oil for production, and you are complaining about energy. What kind of mentality is that? See, so these are some of the things that really worry us. But as you said, so you can get direct energy from the sun by using parabolic mirrors to concentrate the heat that will then heat water, turn into steam, get your steam turbine to produce power for you. And this is being done in California. You have more access to solar energy than they have. And yet they are doing this.
For example, you go to the plains or the desert in Texas, etc., and Arizona, for example. Scientists are able to convert all this heat into what they call photovoltaics.
Of course,
in many respects.
Okay.
What do you think as a country is our strategy? And do you think we've had that since the days of Nkrumah?
Well, you see, in Nkrumah, if we talk about Nkrumah, you'll be aware of, because in Nkrumah's time, we didn't have a power crisis.
Sure.
And there was no way that we could have a power crisis in Nkrumah's time, because don't forget that when the Akosombo was finished, a commission on 20 January 1966, immediately they had embarked on the Woode Dam. The Woode Dam had been started. There were materials there, building materials for the dam. So even though at that time we had more energy than we required, he has still taken steps to try to have extra power. And even at that time, he was still thinking about the atomic energy. But in the 70s, for instance, the program, there's been a program to assess all the hydropower potential of all the rivers, the major rivers in the country.
Well, we did that with Woode.
Yes. And 10,001 rivers were surveyed for their hydropower potential. 10,001 rivers. You know, in fact, to be interesting for you to know that even this river that supplies to Waja, what do you call that river? Densu. Densu is 450 kilometers long. At peak flooding, you have 80 kilowatts per meter. So multiply 80 kilowatts per meter for the 450 kilometers. That's a lot of power.
But that also gave an indication of a certain strategy and a plan.
Okay.
Do you think forthwith, from the 90s, we've had a certain strategy to resolve our energy crisis?
We had a strategy, but that was a wrong strategy. They decided that we could only solve our problem by going thermal, importing fuel, gas, and diesel to run. That is a short-sighted.
Well, fuel is available all around the world, and besides, we're also producing. And now, when you produce fuel, it means that ultimately you have an added advantage of getting access to gas.
We don't need to go there. If I were in power, I'll process that fuel into miscellaneous materials, you know, so that we'll spread the wealth base. We have materials that could give us all the energy we need. Let me just give you one example. We monitored, Accra is receiving 240 truckloads of charcoal a day. 240 truckloads. Now, charcoal, the extraction rate is about 15% because a lot of it go waste. Now, if you convert that to wood, anybody can do it in the house. It's a lot. But 1 kilogram of wood, when you gasify it, will give you 1 kilowatt hour of electricity. So that the 13 million tons of firewood that we consumed last year, as said by the president, is actually equivalent to 13 million megawatts of electricity, which we are allowed to go. That's big. Now, we have done some extrapolation, and we know that 50 million tons of firewood a year gasified will give us 5,000 megawatts immediately. Now, that comes to something around 4 million tons per month you know, if you spread it over the constituencies, that is no big deal. That could solve our energy problem almost immediately. And there are on the world market, you know, mobile plants from 50 kilowatts to 1 megawatt to process the wood into electricity.
Okay. Now, let's come to the issue of investments.
Okay.
As far as we're concerned, if you look at the statistics,
Okay.
the sort of investment that is needed,
Okay.
whether it's by country or community base or regional bases, etc.,
Okay.
into solar energy producing or production is so much high. For example, I was just reading something from the CIA website, and it gives an indication of efforts being made in Pennsylvania, USA,
Okay.
to generate solar energy.
Okay.
And they have to spend billions of dollars.
Okay.
We're in no position to do that, are we?
Okay.
Where are we even going to place the solar panels?
Okay.
In what planes? The aircraft planes?
Okay. Okay. No. In the first place, if the assumption is correct, then it supposes that the Germans are stupid. Because why, knowing all the things that you are saying, would they go in for 38,000 megawatts when they can only access 1,000 watts per square meter? There's something wrong with the calculations. Information at my disposal indicates that, and my children are in solar, and I'm in solar, that for 1 megawatt solar, the price goes between 1 million to 1.5 million per megawatt, depending on the backup. Now, don't forget, the Woode Dam cost $622 million US, so for 400 megawatts. So it means that it's 1.56 million per megawatt. And what we are talking is less than what the Woode Dam spent.
Sure.
And the Woode Dam, how much is it going to give us? Now, if we have spent that one on solar for 10 hours, starting from 7 a.m. to 5 a.m., that's 10 hours, that would have given us 10 times 400 megawatts. That's, you know, that's a lot of...
You make it look so simple. If it's that simple...
But that's a fact.
If it's that simple, why is it that we don't have the feasibility right then?
Well, these are some of the things I don't understand. But there was a Czech delegation that came to Ghana last year. We had a meeting at M Plaza.
They came to visit you?
No, they came for... And the Germans had a vision about 2 weeks ago. No, these delegations come, then you go to them, and then you check on their facts. You know, for instance, last week when the Germans came, we learned that for only 2 days in a year, the temperature in Germany is only 35 degrees.
Okay, what we're showing now is the solar panels that is in a community in Paga.
Okay.
All right, and now this generates 2 megawatts of power, and this is fed into the grid. What happens is, because we have generational or operational losses, it's only one megawatt of power that is realized. This even costs thousands of dollars, so to speak. Do you think we need to go by that very strategy? Perhaps also adopting these renewable energy sources, perhaps community by community or region by region, etc.
Yes. What are we using the rooftops for? You know,
you mean our houses?
Yes. Now, if you go to Japan, if you go to China, you will not be allowed to build a house without solar panel on top. Now, we have thousands of space on our rooftops. It's a matter of managing it properly and making sure that, because when you use the rooftops, then you will not need a battery backup. You just use the inverter. The inverter converts the thing and goes to the grid, and immediately the power enters the grid, becomes a mixed basket, so anybody can use it. So when you go for the rooftop, then definitely your investment cost will be low. But my point is that last year, 2012, for the first 6 months, United States invested more in solar energy than in any other source of power. So if the people are
because they want to be less dependent on oil. That's very much understandable.
That's the point.
So you think we should go that very way?
That is our only way. That's sensible way. Because now, if the man is on 1,000 watts per square meter, and for the first 6 months, anybody can check my net, they invested more in solar than in other source of energy, then you are on twice that resource. Then how can you complain that it's expensive? It doesn't make sense to me. Then it means that they are stupid or we are stupid. It doesn't make that sense. And so why should South Africa, which is on par about 25, 30, go in for 5,000 megawatts solar? And we are around the equator. Why should India? Well, I mean, I can list you countries. We need to go in for those resources that go.
So you're arguing we're closer to the equator, we're a tropical country, we have no business saying we have difficulties or challenges or deficits in energy production.
Because the sun is the main supply of energy to the planet, and if you are closer to the sun, you cannot have an energy deficit.
We've tried with the ideas of nuclear energy and other alternative sources. Okay. Do you think that now the agenda should then shift towards harnessing whatever potentials there are of the sun?
We have so many other potentials. I
Sure.
want us to exhaust them before.
Sure.
We have one of the best wind corridors in the world. One of the best wind corridors. And that is on the Akusa.
Who told you that?
We have the research, and I can prove it to you right now. Just listen to me. You see, when the rain-bearing clouds, they come from east, from Nigeria. And when they reach the Volta region, the rains reduce. You ask yourself why. Because the Volta Lake is in a trough between two parallel mountains. So as the globe is turning at 67 miles an hour, orbiting at 67,000 miles an hour, and spin at 1,040, it grabs this wind, and releases it at Ada, inducing the tidal waves. And immediately you find that the rains reduce from Nigeria in Ghana, reduces, and only picks up the central region and reaching the western region. So, and then you see that if you go to the Afram Plains, on top of those houses, you have boulders of stone on them. And then those fishermen operating the lock, they have a lot of problem with the boats capsizing, and they hold on to those. Though that tells you that the wind is there, So we have taken some measurements. Now we are saying that let us use that wind immediately. Now we have checked on what is called the characteristics of the wind. That's the wind density and wind speed. There's a place in the United States called Southern Wyoming. It stretches over 100,000 hectares. And they are putting 1,000 towers for 3,000 megawatts. Now, means that they have one tower for 100 hectares. It means that the wind speed and the wind density is not enough. Here we have this corridor stretching from south to north about 1,000 kilometers. Now, if you get a 3 megawatt tower, you have to go about 120 meters, 85-meter blade. That will give you 3 megawatts. So now, if the blade is 85 meters, it means that you can put one tower, say, every 300 meters. So if you calculate the distance from here to the north and put in at 300 meters direct, you get 3,300 towers.
You've been saying this for years. Why is that nobody listens to you?
Well, then I should ask you that. Because this
I'm
very
not in
viable.
government, and if you ask me, I guess you get non-feasible answers.
And we have,
in many
you see, we have a major advantage. The towers are made from fiberglass. And we had a Aboso glass factory built by Nkrumah. Fiberglass has come from molten glass. When the glass is made, then you blow it from. So if you decide to go that way, you can get an investor who knows that there's a market for the fiberglass towers. So you invest
and so you resuscitate
and then you also know that
also glass factory, and thereafter you can manufacture fiberglass.
And then build your towers. And you know that there's a big market for power on the West Coast. So the Togo and all those who don't have this kind of facility, that means you have power, you have market for your product. So you can go on there. So why? Japan, when they had this Fukushima program, the
nuclear disaster.
Yes. They built 143 towers, 200 meters, and each one giving 7 megawatts per tower.
But despite all this you say, Japan has not less than 3 nuclear plants. And so it will baffle many people for you to say, for a country that is also advocating the use of solar energy to augment or complement their energy provision, or also reliably rely on nuclear energy.
Yes, but at the same time, they went immediately.
So it's a complement.
Yes, immediately.
So that's what we need to do.
Of course.
For the houses and for all that you're advocating for residents to have perhaps solar panels on their rooftops, wouldn't it be too expensive that they can't afford? Already we're getting a housing deficit that is always widening by the day.
The existing, you see, I've talked about 1 square meter.
Sure.
We can quickly estimate those houses that will be available for this. If you go to
and who built that? Government will fund that?
Must fund it because it will be in government interest. The money, I talk about Woode. If, let's say, the Woode money had been invested, we could easily get minimum 400 megawatts continuously from 7 to 5. So that kind of this will go into the grid and then as a maize basket. But we could target 1,000 megawatts of solar energy spread all over the country as an immediate action. Find the money and do it if you have to borrow it, because I did some calculations. But even let me come back to the price of energy here. You see, I was talking about wood gas. Aboise, the combined cycle is on 9.5 cents per kilowatt hour. That's the price. The single cycle is 11 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, we did a research using Woode. We went to the market to check on a 5-ton Kia truck. 5-ton Kia truck, the price was just about 5 million old cities. That comes to, if you calculate in terms of weight per kilogram, is 30 cents per kilogram. So 3 cents per kilogram. Now, for you to get that into power, you require 0.001 of gas, propane gas, and 0.001 of diesel, and 15 liters of well water. This is all what we need. We arrive at the price of 3.2 cents per kilowatt hour, as against Aboise, which is 9.5 cents per kilowatt. Now, even if you double that, you are still half the price of Aboise. And we are saying that let us use the wood that is sitting down in the forest as a result of timber activity, because when you harvest timber, you have 42 feet, 48 feet. Anything else is left in the bush. And we've been to Dubiasi, where the wood is sitting down there. So the
research is there, you're saying?
Yes. So go in and use that one to produce the power.
All right. Well, so my colleague, Kwabena Chenchahene Boateng, has been finding out from a section of the public their own minds on the need to use alternative energy sources, and asking them also what they have been using alternatively in the current ongoing energy crisis we're all experiencing.
Circle in Accra, and I'll be interacting with people to actually find out one or two things. You know, in the midst of these power crises, many are saying that indeed, what are the alternatives? The questions lingering on the minds of many are, what are the alternatives? Would you rather go for a solar panel, which many say are quite expensive? You might need some 5,000 Ghana cedis, and in the old denomination, that will be about 50 million cedis to get a normal system that might not even be able to power everything you use in your household. Or you'd rather go for a generator set, and with that also, you know, there's recurring costs. You would have to keep on purchasing diesel or petrol. Whatever the case may be, let's find out from some persons on the streets of Accra. Let's get to know what they make of this and what option they would rather go for.
Solar panel would do.
Why?
Because when you have the solar panel in this nation, due to the sun, we will not lack of maybe energy or anything, because we'll be getting the source from the sun, and that will help the nation rather than the generator. The generator, we're buying diesel and all that, and that one will cause problem for the nation. So I think the solar panel will benefit the nation more than the generator. That's my opinion. To me, but I think the nation can come out with some kind of source that will get that money to help we those are in need of the solar panel. Maybe some companies who are in need of the solar panel, not me per se. This is about the nation. So I think they can provide that money. 5,000 Ghana cedis is not any money for them.
Well, I mean, more or less, either we should go by panel or solar.
So you go for a solar panel if you have the choice?
Yeah, that's it. I'll choose the solar.
Why that option, not generators? Why would you go for solar?
You know, I mean, more or less, the generator side may cost more money. But when you go to the solar, it will be a bit moderate.
How about the cost involved with acquiring a solar set, a solar panel, the complete set? We are told it's quite expensive.
But that is economic. That's very economic.
And never be able to say me use. When I say cover something, I can't use it.
Solar no say what solar panels are. It me cover bibia ana ntiena won anything.
It is say na and cover part of where I use of like fridges and whatnot. And come there, and yeah, you be a mammy. I bet Biana. I said, Duma, yeah. It's to say, I've been my big cold sauce in Yamana. I don't know. Say, I bet to me, I cover. I'm a one, okay. But
one of the Kenya problem,
to say, Sanya, Nibuono. I'm to say, no, so I see the wording because as it's for no, almost I cannot want to mean fan or more buildings, no, because I no wording. And then also, some better am I.
So, what she just told us is that she thinks, well, these plants, much as they are okay, she doesn't think they'll be able to power all her things, all the things she needs to power in her home. So she doesn't really see the need to go in for a solar system. Also, she's mentioning that they are quite expensive also. There's a student here, let me find out from her. Probably, well, let me just speak to her. Good morning, what's your name?
Jasmine.
Okay, Jasmine. In the midst of this power crisis, you're speaking of options or alternatives. Now, have you ever heard of the solar system, maybe a solar panel, or have you ever heard of any of those options?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Would you be willing to go for a solar option, and why?
Yeah, I'll be willing to go for it because right now the YC is like almost at our doorstep, and almost every day there's lights off. We can't, and maybe in the evening too, I want to sleep or something, so I can't learn. And during the day too, they always put off the lights. So the best option is the solar panel. Because even sometimes if you go opt for the two phases.
And so mixed reactions there to the use of solar as an alternative source of energy. But Mr. Woode, the main concern has been about cost, having the solar panels and how many hours you can't even use comparable to whatever you get from the national grid as far as supplies are concerned. You can use them for hours. And we even use them indiscriminately.
Okay. You know the amount of savings we made when we introduced this energy box.
Sure.
We could do the same thing by subsidizing the installation of solar panels. The government will gain because we'll be able to, in about 3-4 years, create a huge energy bank that will bring down the cost of energy down. Energy is one of the 7 parameters in the valorization chain. When you have that one right, you have a lot of things right. So we have nothing to lose by engaging in that because.
But the whole issue is about the cost. I think ultimately.
That's what makes me nervous because if that is the case, then it means the Germans are stupid. Why would they have the energy that they are getting?
Well, they have a lot more resources than we do, so they can afford to just implement it and say they just want to use it for complementary purposes.
A white man being born, how the resources are around him. This kind of. I went to South Korea. I think I told you of that. 1991, I visited the biggest steel mill. When they were building that, the whole World Bank, everybody was against them building the steel mill. They've written there, resources may be limited, but resourcefulness is unlimited. But unfortunately, we seem to have the reverse here, that we have unlimited resources, but limited resourcefulness. That's what we have.
That is, we're not able to turn around what we have.
That's the point. We have great potential. I'll give you a few examples. Look at it. When you harvest plantain, Brazil, what do you do with the stock? That stock contains fiber, and the Japanese currency is coming from the stock, that's the fiber from the plantain. What do we do with it? And we have unemployment. We can't even empower people to extract that fiber, make some bags, decorate them with local bees and sell. You have first-class fiber coming from the pineapple. It looks like silk.
Not true. But for industrial purposes, it means we'll need to grow acreages, millions of acreages of sand, so to speak.
This approach will not help us. The things are available. Let's use what is available now, and then program ourselves
for
big way. For instance,
the medium to long term.
What we're saying that there's wood sitting down in the bush take it.
What's your mind?
Immediately start a reforestation program. If you can restore the forest to 1977 level, the energy will kill, will
Mr.
die.
Woode, what's your mind on the need to decentralize, perhaps even energy provision or production in many areas?
Totally.
Because you go to, for example, in Germany that you talk about, each of the states, etc., the federations, in many respects, they have various mechanisms by which they generate their own energy for their particular state.
I'm totally with you, totally. And the Philippines have been doing that. Now, let's take any village, a crowd, call it anything. And let's say every village, they send the wood to their homes for cooking and so on. If that wood was supposed to be at a central point, then you send your mobile the power production there, and then you produce the power, and then you just link it to the network. You are immediately, then you have decentralized power production. We have 276 constituencies. We are advocating that let each constituency just produce 10 megawatts of power. That will give you immediately 2,760 megawatts. And that is decentralized production. Initially, we can use wood, which is sitting in the forest. And then the land from Accra to Aflao, that grass there, what are you doing with it? So if you are stupid like me, even broadcast some neem trees and some, look at what the army people did at the Burma camp. That's an energy bank. You see, so then we create a new energy bank. By the time we finish consuming what is sitting in the forest, that would have come back to support your energy, so that you don't need to import any fuel for power. You see, for every 30 feet that you go, the wind speed goes up by 20%. Now, from Wager to the Blue Hills, you have all these hills that give you a start. Because if you put the tower there, it means that you spend less on tower. And Wager all the way to Abril Hills. That is your potential for wind power generation. And what are you doing with that wind? This Nkoko should easily come out of power, because you have that huge hill there. Legon can come off. We did some research on Legon. They are pruning the wood, and they are putting huge quantities that could go in for gas fortification, for power production. And they said that tower there, put a wind tower there, and Legon and its enclave will go up the grid. Let us just think, please. I mean, this is a problem we can solve.
How do we fuse this into a national strategy? Having hindsight, the current problems we have been facing, or we're still facing, really.
We need to draw a plan. I've told you that you can get power.
Well, we already have some sort of strategy that we're implementing. We've signed agreement with ENI, GE, that's General Electric, etc., to provide thermal and other sources of energy. Of course, not solar.
The Americans, Obama is envying the Brazilians. They're envying the Brazilians because they're using inward strategy. The Brazilians are using biofuel, a lot produced from themselves. And then even drying cocoa, what is dropping the cocoa sweatings? When you are having 1 million tons of dry beans, it means that you have a lot of ethanol dripping down there. You have to create systems where you can harvest, use tabletop distillation plants, and have crude ethanol, which can then upgrade it.
Okay, we'll have to continue our discussion though, because I love the subjects and I want us to explore it the better. Okay. We're getting to the end of the hour for the day, and that will almost be concluding our show. And we'll have to say, so what's the piece of advice you have for the political parties, including your party, the CPP, that it's even going around and making all the noise that they're making?
First, all our solar. Secondly, wood gas proportion for power production.
Wood gas?
Yes.
Is that efficient? Sustainable? Okay.
The Germans are doing that.
All right. And then what again?
That's you have virtual 8 megawatts sitting down at the beach there from where you are throwing your toilet. You see, so...
You mean biogas?
Yes. And all these are there, but we need a plan. See, if you go to China right now, the metro mass buses, they use batteries. They charge them during the day, 2 sets. We can do the same thing here in this.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have had speaking to us about the need as a country to adopt better alternative sources of energy provision. And well, Engineer Woode has been advocating energy from the sun, and solar energy has been the subject we've been discussing on AM Talk this morning, and we'll have to bring you back into the studio to continue the discussions. And thanks for joining me, sir. It's a pleasure having you.
I'm
okay,
also happy.
All right, so
Ghanaians must think, please.
Yes, we will think. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more for you before we close the show.